Manuel Neuer. Manuel Neuer redefined goalkeeping by erasing the line between the keeper and the outfield player, perfecting the role of the sweeper keeper. This aggressive, proactive concept views the goalkeeper as the first attacker and the last defender simultaneously, fundamentally changing the geometry of defence through calculated abandonment. The essence of his tactical revolution is his extreme positioning. He habitually stands far outside the penalty area, closer to the centre circle, acting as an extra defender. This is a high-risk strategy that allows his defensive line to push up with assurance. His primary job is to sweep up long balls played over the top, racing out to intercept them with a tackle, effectively shrinking the playable space and nullifying the counter-attack threat. Furthermore, with his exceptional footwork, Neuer acts as a crucial playmaker and pressure release valve for possession football, initiating attacks with precise short passes. This blend of being an aggressive, goal-saving shield and a proficient ball player forces opponents to rethink their entire attacking and pressing strategy. David Beckham. David Beckham's playstyle was that of an old-school crossing specialist, a right midfielder who lacked the pace and dribbling skills expected of a modern inverted winger. His genius was a specific, generational technique, the surgical precision of his set pieces and whipped crosses. His value was in the quality of service, proving that technique could override raw athleticism. The paradox of Beckham was his reliance on the touchline. He rarely beat his man with a trick or burst of speed, but required only a single yard of space to dismantle an entire defence with a 40-yard pass. This specialisation made him a tactical anomaly today. He succeeded because Sir Alex Ferguson built the attack around his elite delivery, relying on finishers to meet the ball. In a contemporary system, his profile would need to be translated into a deep-lying playmaking right-back, a position that maximises his elite long-range passing and vision from a safer area, mitigating his lack of defensive intensity and pace. His highly specialised game remains beautiful to watch, but functionally outdated. Thomas Müller. Thomas Müller is the ultimate Raumdeuter, a position he essentially invented, built on a specific tactical anarchy. His game is based on spatial intelligence and off-ball movement, thriving in the grey areas of the pitch that others ignore. This makes his football deeply unorthodox. He scores and assists, not because of flair, but because he's always exactly where he shouldn't be. Müller famously lacks the elite technical finesse of his peers. His dribbling is straightforward and his shots awkward. However, this is compensated for by his supreme cognitive talent. He doesn't need to take on a defender because he has read the play 2 steps ahead. His genius lies in his ability to identify and exploit the small, fleeting pockets of space between defensive lines, popping up like a phantom to turn awkwardness into advantage. Müller is the king of unpredictability through regularity. His movement is tireless and often appears messy, but it's rigorously executed chaos designed to disrupt man-marking. His primary asset is his brain, proving that positional understanding and tactical awareness can be more devastating than any individual flair. Wan-Bissaka, the dying breed of fullback. Wan-Bissaka's career is a case study in defensive specialisation becoming a liability. He is the elite one-on-one defender of his generation, earning the nickname the Spider for his astonishing, long-legged slide tackling range. His playstyle represents the older, defensive fullback of a bygone era. His immense defensive contribution, constantly bailing out his teams with impossible last-ditch challenges, comes at a staggering cost. The paradox is exposed when his team regains possession. His attacking metrics are among the lowest for any elite fullback. His passing range is average, final third decisions are inconsistent, and dribbling forward is often clumsy. This is a technical flaw that actively slows the team's offensive transition. This fundamental gap explains why he struggles under managers who demand versatile, possession-centric fullbacks. Wan-Bissaka's career symbolises a dying breed of player who can nullify elite wingers defensively, but who simultaneously becomes a predictable liability going forward, often relegated to specialist roles like an inverted wingback, where his defensive prowess can shield the midfield and his attacking shortcomings are hidden. Franz Beckenbauer, the regal libero. Franz Beckenbauer defined the libero, an ambitious position that was the final defensive layer while serving as the primary attacking catalyst. He was a profound tactical anomaly, a central defender who abandoned the defensive line to join the midfield and launch attacks. The libero was given complete freedom to sweep up loose balls and cover teammates. Beckenbauer, however, flipped the emphasis. His genius was unlocked when his team won possession. Instead of clearing the ball, he would confidently stride into midfield, carrying the ball with regal poise. This move was revolutionary, creating an instant overload and turning the defence into an attacking general. He was the rare defender who acted as the team's creative orchestrator, delivering defence-splitting passes from deep, dictating the tempo, and making surging runs into the opposition's box. The libero's weirdness lay in the duality of the role, the defensive instinct to bail out his team, paired with the technique and arrogance to be the most influential attacking player on the pitch. Viktor Gyokeres, the goal-obsessed bulldozer. Viktor Gyokeres is the quintessential striker obsessed with one thing: scoring goals, regardless of elegance. He embodies the principle that raw desire and relentless physicality can overwhelm a lack of technique, making his playstyle that of an effective brute. In a modern forward line, where link-up play is prized, Gyokeres' actions appear unrefined. His first touch is heavy, his passes often miss the mark, and his movements are occasionally awkward. He doesn't glide past defenders, he runs through them, resulting in an exhibition of physical force over creative expression. What redeems him is his ferocious, single-minded obsession with the net. He compensates for technical deficiencies through overwhelming physicality, relentless pressing, and a low centre of gravity that makes him nearly impossible to dispossess once in motion. He is a master of finding chaotic ways to score, lashing in shots after heavy challenges or converting with sheer power. He symbolises a throwback striker whose primary function is simply to finish, a powerful, unstoppable force that finds ways to score even when his mechanics suggest otherwise. Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi didn't just play the false nine role, he became the blueprint for the system under Pep Guardiola. His entire brilliance lay in its weirdness. He was a striker who refused to stay up front, transforming the attack through movement and profound deception, not just finishing. Messi's genius was his ability to use the centre of the pitch as a spatial command centre. By dropping deep, he acted as a magnet, forcing one or both central defenders to choose, either follow him and leave a massive hole for wingers to exploit, or stay in position and allow Messi time on the ball against the midfield. His movement was a calculated act of abandonment that broke the fundamental geometry of the opposition's defence. He possessed the unparalleled passing vision of a number 10 and the goal hunger of a striker. He didn't just drag defenders out, he calculated the damage and delivered the killer pass or dribble. The success of the system was a lie built around Messi. He was the ghost creating chaos outside the box, responsible for both initiation and final execution. Mesut Ozil. Mesut Ozil's playstyle was defined by being the ultimate pass-first relic. In modern, high-intensity football, where attacking midfielders are expected to press and cover immense ground, an approach focused only on the final ball is almost extinct. This made his surgical, languid genius fundamentally incompatible with today's tactical demands. Ozil possessed a unique, surgical vision, turning wide possession into a guaranteed goal threat with a single, perfectly weighted pass. He was the prime orchestrator for Cristiano Ronaldo, feeding him an endless stream of assists. The massive trade-off for this elite skill was his notorious technical and physical flaw: defensive contribution. He was known for his low-intensity pressing and tendency to walk through periods of the game, preserving energy for the exact decisive moment. He only thrived when managers, like at Real Madrid, afforded him a specialised role, shielding him with a tireless double pivot. To succeed today, his technical profile would necessitate a positional shift to a deep-lying creative force, allowing him to utilise his elite vision from a safer area, while others provide the high-intensity defensive cover he lacked. Philipp Lahm, the false fullback. Philipp Lahm, particularly under Pep Guardiola, became the definitive false fullback. This highly specific role demanded that the external defender abandoned his traditional sideline territory to tuck centrally into the midfield. This was the foundation of systemic control, transforming the attack through intelligent, deceptive movement. A traditional full-back runs the flank, but Lahm would immediately cut inside after receiving the ball, occupying the space of a defensive midfielder. This achieved two things. It created an instant midfield overload, giving numerical superiority in the control zone, and it allowed central midfielders the freedom to push higher up. Lahm, the external defender, became the deep-lying distributor, acting as a second anchor. His tactical weirdness was his willingness to sacrifice the defensive geometry of the back four to gain a positional advantage in attack. By moving inside, he became the ultimate safe recycler of possession, maintaining control by constantly passing sideways or backward, dictating the tempo, and engineering attacks from deep midfield. He perfectly showcased how movement and positioning can be more destructive to an opponent's shape than any individual act of flair. N'Golo Kante's playstyle was that of the ghost midfielder. Small, unflashy, and lacking goal contribution, he defied logic by dominating midfields solely through relentless energy and the ability to appear everywhere at once. His specialisation was his near-perfect timing, reading of the game, and endless stamina. Instead of strength or aggression, he controlled games invisibly by constantly winning the ball and keeping play moving with simple, intelligent passes. His simplicity made him unique. He didn't orchestrate like a regista, but his intelligence and sheer effort dictated the tempo of the entire midfield battle. His movement paradox saw him glide past opponents using intelligence and quick bursts, not raw speed, making his constant, low centre of gravity movement appear effortless. A perpetual motion machine running miles to recover the ball. Kante thrived as a roaming ball winner in a double pivot, covering space for more technical teammates. However, the relentless, high-mileage nature of his game led to frequent muscle injuries late in his career. His pure ball-winning style would still work today, but only when paired with a disciplined playmaker who handles the possession-based build-up. Andrea Pirlo, the regista. Andrea Pirlo embodied the regista, the ultimate midfield architect who controlled the game without ever running. While everyone around him pressed and sprinted, Pirlo strolled and orchestrated, making his slow, patient style a tactical marvel. His weirdness was his reliance on intelligence over athleticism, a chess in a sport full of sprinting mentality. Pirlo utilised his deep position to dictate the tempo with calm, almost languid passing, delivering his famous vertical passes that instantly cut through the opponent's lines. He never engaged in chaotic midfield battles, instead receiving the ball from the defence and immediately calculating the highest reward pass. His success proved that a team could be built around a static genius, provided they had the tireless athleticism of players like Gattuso to shield him. Pirlo was the master of stillness amid chaos, turning immaculate vision into the defining element of control. Mohamed Salah, despite his elite numbers, embodies the safe winger. He is a statistical beast whose relentless efficiency has paradoxically stripped his game of the spontaneous flair that once defined exciting wing play. The modern game demands discipline over expression, and Salah is the machine that proves that results can replace soul. The core of his play is not chaos, but an ultra-disciplined, repeatable action. Unlike wingers who constantly take on defenders, Salah's decision-making is optimised for the most high percentage move, the cut onto his devastating left foot. This is structurally safe because it maximises his primary weapon while minimising complex lateral risk. His entire game is a formula: maximise space, execute the inside cut, and finish. While the result is a goal-scoring frenzy, the process often feels mechanical. He eliminates unnecessary low-percentage dribbles, ensuring the ball reaches the critical point of attack quickly. Salah doesn't need to entertain through tricks. He gets the job done with systematic production. He is built for the result sheet, not the highlight reel, demonstrating how discipline and efficiency can successfully replace the spontaneity of traditional wing play. Kevin De Bruyne operates as an anchored mezzala, a player who combines the creative freedom of an attacking number 10 with the discipline to start deep, recycle possession, and cover defensive ground. He is the ultimate midfielder for a structured, possession-heavy system, transforming the deep, lying engine room into the most destructive part of the field. He starts in a deeper, more controlled position, acting as an anchor for possession. This restrained starting position is the foundation of his chaos, as he uses this depth to launch devastating passes. While many deep midfielders recycle safely, De Bruyne uses that same deep control to instantly deliver a defence splitting through ball or a lethal dipping cross. He transforms the safe area into a launchpad for high-risk, high-reward attack. His delivery methods are often weirdly unconventional, including his signature knuckleball technique, a low, swerving, high-velocity delivery that shatters defensive prediction. De Bruyne is the most direct attacking midfielder in the world, constantly seeking to eliminate defenders, yet he starts his attacks from areas of stability, making him both the most reliable orchestrator and the most lethal destroyer. Francesco Totti, the regal trequartista. Francesco Totti was the ultimate expression of the trequartista, the classic number 10, who operates in the crucial three-quarters space between the midfield and the attack, the zone of pure creation. His game was defined by vision, technique, and an almost reckless responsibility to provide every piece of offensive magic. The trequartista is the dangerous hinge of the attack. Totti mastered this by being entirely unpredictable, relying on sublime, almost contemptuous technique rather than pace. His signature skill was the unpass, the flick or no-look through ball delivered with perfect weight that left defences stunned. He was slow by modern standards, but his mind moved at lightning speed, allowing him to receive, turn, and execute an improbable killer pass. Totti's football was pure expression, lacking the disciplined, positional rigidity of modern players. His entire function was to be the creative anomaly. His later period as a false nine only amplified his trequartista soul, allowing his visionary playmaking to influence the game from a central area, dedicated to flair and the audacious creation of a scoring chance. Gennaro Gattuso, the midfield destroyer. Gennaro Gattuso, Ringio, is the ultimate incarnation of the mediano mezzala, where sheer rage and obsession with winning the ball compensate for every technical shortcoming. He is the midfield paradox, a player who openly lacked technique and finesse, but used volcanic energy and unrivaled aggression as a tactical weapon to destroy the opponent's game. In his defensive-minded inside midfield role, Gattuso was the hammer that sealed up half spaces. His actions were often brutal and lacked grace. Heavy first touch, simple passing range, and tireless running more akin to a demolition than a coordinated stride. His greatness stemmed from the self-awareness of his limitations. He played entirely within himself, focusing on the defensive phase. His defining function was acting as the bodyguard for technical playmaker Andrea Pirlo, creating a clear zone of immunity where Pirlo's creativity could flourish. Gattuso's lack of finesse became his most valuable resource. He won the highest honours through pure force of will and physical imposition, proving that passionate discipline and destructive focus can be infinitely more effective than refined technique. Claude Makelele, the destroyer. Claude Makelele defined the destroyer, a midfielder whose sole purpose was to ruin the opponent's football. He was the perfect example of anti-football, all destruction and zero creativity. The weird charm of his game was that it made ugly, destructive work beautiful and essential for balance. Makelele rarely scored or assisted. His genius was his positioning, anticipation, and supreme discipline to shield the defence. He didn't chase the ball everywhere. He simply knew where the opposition's next attack was going and arrived there first, using fouls, interceptions, and tackles to win possession. His tireless, silent work became so vital that the role was coined the Makelele role. He was the unsung hero who enforced structure, proving that the player who avoids the spotlight and focuses only on demolition can be the most valuable piece of a championship system. Filippo Inzaghi, the poacher. Filippo Inzaghi embodied the poacher, a striker who existed for nothing but the moment of scoring. He was famously lazy by design, barely contributing to the build-up, and often caught offside. Yet his timing in the box made him lethal. The weirdness of his game lies in turning inactivity into a weapon. He was the anti-striker, lacking the pace and strength of his peers, but possessing an uncanny intuition for deflection, rebound, and the perfect millisecond run into the 6-yard box. Managers tolerated his minimal work rate because of his insatiable goal hunger. Inzaghi symbolised the player whose existence defied tactical logic. He didn't create chances. He simply lived off the scraps and chaos created by others. His entire value was concentrated into brief, decisive moments, making him a goal-scoring ghost who proved that sometimes less contribution means more goals. Kaká. Kaká was the perfect modern example of the trequartista, a luxury attacker who floated between midfield and forward lines, avoiding defensive work to focus entirely on creation and verticality. Italian teams built their attacks around him, tolerating his lack of pressing because his genius was too potent to constrain. His weirdness was being so gifted that teams tolerated laziness for genius. Kaká's style was defined by the sudden, vertical burst of pace from deep, receiving the ball and driving directly toward the heart of the defence, often ignoring short passes in favour of a devastating dribble. Unlike Messi, who conserved energy for passing, Kaká conserved energy for the solo sprint and final shot or through ball. He was the electric centrepiece whose job was to turn a static midfield into a fluid, deadly counter-attack with one lightning-fast transition. Marouane Fellaini, the wide target man. Marouane Fellaini was utilised as a wide target man, a towering striker deployed on the wing to exploit size mismatches against smaller fullbacks. The role looked wrong and broke positional logic, yet was tactically effective for deciding games. His weirdness was his physical imposition in an area of the pitch built for pace and flair. Fellaini's job was not to dribble or cross, but to receive long diagonal passes, win the aerial duel, and knock the ball down into central midfield or to an onrushing striker. This forced the opponent's defence into chaos. Either the fullback was overwhelmed, or the centre-back had to shift wide, leaving the centre vulnerable. He was a tactical wrecking ball, proving that sometimes the most sophisticated solution is to abandon finesse entirely and simply use raw, unmatched physicality in an unexpected location. Arjen Robben, the inverted winger. Arjen Robben defined the inverted winger, a role that broke a century of positional convention by playing a right footer on the left. Robben's playstyle was famously strange for its predictable genius. Everyone in the stadium knew he was going to cut inside onto his lethal left foot, yet no one could stop him. This singular, repeated move became one of the most destructive forces in modern football. His process was simple: receive wide, use a burst of pace to gain a yard on the fullback, then execute the angled run toward the centre to create a shooting chance. This direct, goal-focused style transformed the winger into a secondary striker. Robben's predictable success proved that supreme technical execution, combined with a highly specialised movement pattern, can be more effective than chaotic unpredictability. He made the modern standard by breaking the old one. Olivier Giroud, the target man. Olivier Giroud represents the target man, a towering striker whose primary job is direct, brutish chaos rather than intricate skill. In an era obsessed with quick, mobile forwards, Giroud's reliance on long passes, flick-ons, and aerial duels felt primitive, yet devastatingly effective. His weirdness lies in his functional ugliness. He was not asked to run channels or beat defenders with skill, but to be a physical magnet, reducing the game to second balls and raw power. Giroud excels at holding up the ball with his back to goal, and crucially, using intelligent flick-ons to bring midfielders and wingers into play. He is a focal point of controlled chaos. Giroud symbolises the striker whose main offensive contribution is facilitating the attack through physical dominance, proving that a simple, direct approach can still break the most sophisticated defences by forcing aerial mistakes and second ball chaos. Joao Cancelo, the false fullback. Joao Cancelo perfected the modern evolution of the false fullback. Like Lahm, he was a defender who moved into central midfield instead of overlapping, but Cancelo added a unique attacking dynamism. His weirdness was his dual role as a primary playmaker, a fullback with the passing range and dribbling skills of an elite number 8. When in possession, he wouldn't hold the width. He would tuck inside, creating an overload and using his central position to deliver line-breaking passes with both feet. This tactical shift made him a key playmaker, dictating tempo from the heart of the pitch. He provided a constant, safe recycling option, while simultaneously posing a threat in the final third, effectively acting as an unseen midfield anchor who could switch into a wide attacker in seconds. He symbolises how modern tactical freedom can blur positional lines entirely. Cesc Fabregas, the strikerless false 9. Cesc Fabregas was the ultimate expression of the strikerless formation used by Spain at Euro 2012. Playing without a traditional centre forward, the team utilised Fabregas as the false 9, making the entire setup look chaotic yet disorienting for defences. His weirdness was in breaking the most basic rule of football, playing without a striker, yet winning a major trophy. Fabregas was an elegant central midfielder who lacked the physicality of a striker, but possessed the vision and short passing ability to receive the ball deep, hold it, and release runners like Iniesta and Silva. By pulling defenders into awkward central areas, he ensured that the opposing backline was constantly defending empty space. His role proved that a structure isn't everything. Fluidity and midfield dominance could successfully replace the central focal point of a traditional striker. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic personifies the interno mezzala taken to an extraordinary physical extreme. His unique profile, combining the 6'4" height and aerial power of a target man with the technical finesse of a playmaker, makes him a unique anomaly, a colossal, elegant disruptor. The fundamental weirdness of Sergej Milinkovic-Savic is his physical contradiction. He has the presence of a centre-back, yet is tasked with carrying the ball forward and exploiting the dangerous half spaces. He is an attacking box-to-box midfielder who thrives in chaos. His first touch is surprisingly soft for his size, allowing him to receive the ball under pressure and quickly pivot. SMS's most devastating quality is his late arrival in the box. His height makes him the ultimate secondary goal threat, scoring headers like a striker while being tracked by midfielders. He uses his brute physicality to carve out space and his technical quality to exploit it, becoming the ultimate example of a goal-scoring midfielder operating outside conventional tactical norms. Claudio Gentile embodied the marker, an old-school defensive role that was the backbone of man-marking systems, like Italy's Catenaccio. Unlike today's zonal defenders, the marker's job was to follow his designated man everywhere, relentlessly and aggressively. His weirdness today lies in the absolute discipline of his man-marking, a role that modern football deems obsolete and dangerously inflexible. Gentile's fame came from his infamous man-marking of stars like Maradona and Zico at the 1982 World Cup. He was not a sophisticated defender, he was a physical shadow who used fouls, intimidation, and constant proximity to nullify his opponent's existence on the field. He was the epitome of the belief that perfect discipline meant eliminating the individual genius of the opposition. His style turned physical harassment into a core tactical strategy, proving that sometimes the most effective defense is simply to refuse to let the opponent breathe. Javier Mascherano, the destroyer centre-back. Javier Mascherano's career represents a fascinating positional shift, moving from the destroyer in midfield to an undersized centre-back under Pep Guardiola. Originally a pure ball winning destroyer, his weirdness was his successful transition to a position he was physically unsuited for, proving that intelligence and temperament can trump height. At Barcelona, he was too small for a traditional central defender, but his ferocious tackling, speed, and exceptional reading of the game allowed him to intercept danger before it became physical. His key asset was his destroyer DNA applied to defence. He was proactive and relentless. He was a key part of the build-up, using his midfielder's passing ability to advance the ball. He was the undersized centre-back, whose tactical brain and intensity made him a defensive rock in a team built on possession.